Great. We are live. Namaskaram. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the viewers. I am Subramanyam, accompanied by Srimati Lakshmi. We welcome you all to Sambash discussion series. Sambash is an open community of like-minded Indians from different spheres of life, from IT to accounting, students to professors to retired seniors living in Europe. We come together to discuss the real Indian cash, culture, art, societal issues, and history. We help our followers develop a better understanding of Indian culture. There is an ancient saying in Tamil, unave marundu, meaning the food that we eat is the medicine. We have been giving so much importance and care to the food we eat, especially its preparation. When I came to Belgium in 2016, I was living in a local Flemish house as a paying guest. The owner, who is now my friend, used to say, "You guys spend more time in the kitchen, and what you cook smells good. What ingredients do you use?" So, eating hot and freshly prepared food is something that I cannot compromise. So used to my party and Amma's upbringing. But I've always thought the food I prepare, even the rasam, is not as tasty as my party's or grandmother's preparation. When I think about it, the big difference is she makes it in a different cookware. I make it in a stainless steel vessel. If I want those tasty, healthy vetakorambu or sambar, rasams or chutneys on my plate, I have to get those kaluchatti or soapstone, patram or tin vessel, amikallu or unpolished stone. Where will I get that? Even if I make my mind to buy one, how will I manage to maintain it? How will I clean it? To answer questions like these, we have a very special guest today in our show who started this venture called Essential Traditions. Kayal, welcome to our show.
Vanakkam, thank you so much for inviting me to this interview. I'm very, very excited to be part of this.
Great. Now, may I ask Lakshmi ji to give a brief introduction about our guest?
Thank you, Subbu. Welcome to Sambash Kayal. Kayal grew up in Chennai with a strong penchant for family, the traditions and practices. She finished her schooling and primary degree in Chennai and went on abroad to pursue her master's degree. Upon completing, she came back to Chennai with an intention of building a brand that is not only economically beneficial, but is also meaningful enough to leave a mark on the society. This intention, fusing with the relevance of traditions she grew up practicing, led to the birth of Essential Traditions. Essential Traditions is a traditional cookware brand that aims at inspiring people to stay connected with their roots and follow the cooking methods of our ancestors. Today, Essential Traditions work with resources like clay, soapstone, iron, cast iron, copper, bronze, and brass. Under each of these resource categories, close to 60 to 70 rural artisans work together, bring to life handcrafted kitchen utensils that would make your grandmother proud. In this age of energy crisis and hazardous chemical coating in most conventional utensils, Essential Traditions presents the buyer with a safe, effective, and mindful option that can be put to use for generations without presenting even a single hazard to your loved ones and the environment. With this, I would like to start my first question to Kayal. What is the inspiration for this store, Kayal? What was the trigger point, and how and when this idea was conceived, and how was it executed?
Thanks a lot, Lakshmi, first of all, for inviting me. So I think in all our lives, we come across certain life-changing moments, and we won't understand it at that point in time. But as we go on, we understand that that was what the trigger point. So in my case, when me and my husband we moved back to Chennai, our intention was to do something which had a social responsibility factor built into it. So we were truly clueless when we started. So we wanted to explore a lot of options and speak to people who were into this, businesses which had a lot of social responsibility built into them. even if they are small businesses. So we started looking for, palm leaf plates and tumblers and cutlery using that. That's where we actually started. We started visiting farms, looking for these things. And we came across this farmer in Tirunelveli, who unwittingly he became the trigger point in our lives. So basically, this farmer had quite a number of acres. I think it was like 12 to 15 acres of land, and he grew everything that he needed. So this farmer, he was born and brought up as in the farmland only, so he doesn't know anything else. And he was about 70 years of age when we met him about 10 years ago. So he was very, very hale and healthy, and he is still hale and healthy. The only things that he buys from outside his farm are diesel and salt. So he still is completely self-sufficient, and he lives this example life, So he became an inspiration to us. So we decided that we needed to do something with a focus on organic farming. Try to bring in more knowledge into why we need to move to organic farming, and why we need to buy organic products, and why we need to support farmers. So we opened a very, very small organic store, and we started selling and supplying to our local people alone, in the neighborhood alone. It was a very small neighborhood store only. So we understood as time went by that supplying and selling organic food products was not enough. So basically, you'll be able to get all the goodness that you buy through organic products only when you cook them in the right way. So we started looking into how do you cook these things, and why use clay vessels, or why use cast iron cookware? What is the advantage in it? Why did we stop using it to begin with? And things like that. And as I went into it deeper and deeper, the number of ancient vessels that we had just started growing. It was literally like I was just knocking into a grandma's house and then looking at all the stuff that she uses. And, she has inherent knowledge about it. And she's so used to having such cookware that she is not going to touch anything else. She has that comfort level. That's when I started researching into the scientific value behind these things, because today we look for those scientific answers in everything that we do. And it's a good thing, so that we understand why to preserve such ancient practices. So I would say that was a trigger point, and it was just unbelievable that the knowledge that people had, and it just made me jump into it enthusiastically.
Yeah, the thing that you told me about the grandma's arrays of vessels touched a chord with me. So I was wondering, how did we lose this beautiful tradition of ours, and how do we revive this?
Okay, so how did we lose it? More and more cheap and easy to use products started coming into the market, and with a lot of innovative marketing techniques, people started getting attracted towards them. And everything said and done, at the end of the day, these traditional cookware, they have to be maintained. They require a lot of maintenance. They do require a certain method of maintenance. And these are the little things which people started forgetting. See, for example, let me say, my mother-in-law and her grandmother, they had a lot of soapstone cookware. But after them, people started to avoid such things, because only a certain way it has to be handled. You cannot put it on the stove. An empty soapstone cookware cannot be put on the stove, and you cannot use it the way you use a normal non-stick or a stainless steel vessel. So because of this loss of knowledge, people started getting scared to use such things. And it became much more easier to wash. It became much more easier to cook with, handle, the weight factor. All these things made it easier for us to move over to modern cookware. So this is what led to that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we'll go to this modern cookware versus traditional cookware later. But you're doing a fabulous job, Kyle. You're bringing back these traditions, helping the dying arts come back to life, giving these artisans a space, in the current economy. So how do you identify these artisans? How do you choose them? And where are they from?
So see, basically, when we started looking at these traditional cookware, we started going in search of these things. So, whatever traditional cookware, we always think of Kumbakonam or all these temple cities. Most of, you go ask your grandmom, she'll tell you she bought this culture tea in Kumbakonam, next to the temple or something like that, an ancient temple, and then the stores next to it. These were the places that used to stock up these traditional cookware. Now, these people they were retailers, and they were not the people who were actually making them. So we started looking at where these sources were. Where do you get a proper soapstone in order to make this culture tea? That's where you start looking at people and start meeting artisans. And it's a lot of research, but everything is local. That's the best part. The carbon footprint is there's nothing to it, because everything is available in our backyard. Everything is available in Tamil Nadu. All the sources are from Tamil Nadu, except maybe one or two. That were rare products. So it was a much easier job for me when I started looking for artisans, because when you go and meet up with a couple of artisans, they are always in touch with more artisans. So basically, it's like a family, it's like a network of people. And when you go and meet with one person, and then you sort of, network with them, that's it. You start seeing and meeting different people and like-minded people, and then it just follows,
Yeah. Interesting story on the artisans. Now, I would like to just deep dive into the different kinds of vessels. And of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is the mud cookware. How do artisans choose the mud? Is there a process in choosing the mud? What are the scientifically asserted benefits of this? It is used both for cooking and storage as well, I guess. Can you share your thoughts on this?
Okay, so let me address the first question. So clay, how do they choose the clay? Usually the clay is from a riverbed. It needs to be a riverbed which has flowing water, and the artisans, they know exactly the source. So they will go to the particular source when they are making making a cookware, or a particular source when they are making let's say a pot to store water with. Clay inherently, it has this capability of turning acidic food into alkaline food. All right, so the acidity becomes alkaline in nature. So this is the speciality of clay when you're using it as a cookware. When you store water in clay pots, for example, you may notice that the water temperature is much cooler than the room temperature. It's a natural coolant. And also, you should try pouring in salt water into your clay pot. You'll be able to see after a point of time that the salt will get ejected. It will try and push the salt out. So outside, you'll be able to see a white layer, and there'll be water inside. So clay has a lot of natural tendencies to, purify water, at the same time cool the water. And the water from a clay pot is supposed to be extremely good for your body in order to maintain our body temperature. So especially in times of like the Indian summers, if you have a clay pot at home, it just becomes this treasure chest. It's amazing to have a clay pot at home. That's one thing. So clay can be used for cooking as well as for storing. Storing, it can be used for storing, tamarind. It can be used to set curds in. Usually we don't use it to put store salt in, because it tries to, how do you say it, get the salt out. So the salt, it becomes soggy and all that. So it's not used for storing salt alone.
So the other question that comes with respect to the mud pots, or we have been seeing the general mud pot that is red in color, but also the black mud pot. What is the difference between those two?
There are many types of clay available. Now, the clay pots that we sell, we have red clay pots and we have black clay pots. The ones we sell are actually made of both red clay only. So the red clay pot will be baked once, and the black will be baked twice. So this baking process, since it is done twice, the same red clay pot becomes black in color. So it was done in order to make the clay pot stronger.
Interesting story on the mud vessel. Now, if I would like to move on to the copper. So there is a lot of emphasis about copper vessels or copper storage in Puranas and our Itihasas. Why is it that copper is given so much importance? And also, I have heard that copper is not generally used for cooking, but it's used for storing. Um, Even like the Ganga gel also comes in a small copper pot. The kind of importance that we give to copper from long ago, from tradition, is something to cherish. Can you share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So copper is a metal which is considered to be like almost like purifying metal. For example, you store water in a copper pot and then you leave it inside the copper pot for at least 5 to 6 hours before you consume it. When you do that, uh, even heavy metals in the water, it is supposedly purified by the copper, in the sense that it will still be present, but it will be present as a sediment at the bottom. So as you start using copper vessels, you will have to use only the top portion of the water and leave the bottom portion. And when your a cleaned copper vessel will be pink in color. It will be shiny and pink. So it's actually the Tamil term for copper is tamiram. Tamiram is tamirai. So it's pinkish in color, the metal as such. So when this pink metal turns a shade darker, it becomes slightly darker in shade. When that becomes, it means that the purification process is done. It means that you'll have to clean it again and then you can use it again for storing water. So I've also heard from these copper artisans that it is closest in absorbing the good rays of the sun. And apparently that's the reason that they are used for the kalasam on the temple tops.
Mm-hmm.
You use it as a kalasam because it absorbs all the good rays from the sun and purifies whatever is inside it. So these are all directly from the artisans who have these, inherent knowledge which was passed down through generations. Yeah.
That's an interesting anecdote on the copper, how it is used. So the next question, I would like to move on to the brass, or what we call as pittalai. So what type of alloy is this? And whenever we use brass vessel, it is told that it has to be coated with EM or tin. Why is it needed? But also I have a coffee filter which is brass and it's not coated with EM. So what is the myth? Can you clarify the myth around it?
Yeah, sure. So brass is an alloy. It's a mixture of copper along with zinc. So since it's copper plus zinc, we usually have EM, which is like a tin coating in brass vessels, so that we'll be able to get the benefits, but it doesn't eat into the metal. So tin is good for us. On the other hand, when you have copper and zinc, it's not supposedly used to be consumed as food. So that's the reason that you coat it with tin. That is the first one. The next one, your brass coffee filter. You use a brass metal in order to consume your coffee also at the same time. Those coffee dabra sets and all that, they are made of brass also. So it is said that coffee is acidic in nature. So when you drink a lot of coffee, it becomes acidic.
Yep.
When you consume the same coffee using a brass coffee dabra set or a brass whatever, a tumbler, whatever, the acidity is reduced. That was the reason why brass was used for coffee. So that's why you don't need a tin coating for your brass coffee filter, because the brass, it makes your coffee better health-wise.
Okay. Thank you for that. I just have a viewer question here, just going back to the clay pot. When we make curd in red clay pot, then would there be a fungal problem?
So when you're using a clay pot for storing, be it water or for setting curds, when it is not put on the gas stove, over a flame, it is always good to make sure you clean it well. Yes, there is a very good chance of fungus to grow only because of the fact that it is made of clay. So all you have to do is wash it with salt and a piece of lemon. So you can, if you're using it for setting curds, do it after every setting of your curd and wash it and dry it in sunlight. This prevents fungal growth in it.
Thank you, Kalai. Now, I would like to move on to the bronze, the Vengalam. So what is the composition of metals in Vengalam or bronze? It is bronze also is used for non-cookware utilities. It is of course used for cooking, but is also used for non-cookware items like lamps, puja vessels, and all that. And also I have heard that you cannot cook something with tamarind or tart in tarty items in bronze. But I have seen my mother using tamarind to clean bronze vessels. So if you have some thoughts to share on that.
You answered your question. Basically. Okay, so bronze is again an alloy. So it is made up of copper and tin. So
Yeah.
tin, it can be used for cooking, correct? So because of that, you can use it for making, let's say, a payasam, or you can use it for milk boiling rice. You can use it for sakra pongal, which we always use.
Mm.
You can use it to make upma. You can cook dal in it. You can cook vegetables in it. The reason that we don't use it for any tomato-based, tamarind-based foods is because these are acidic in nature, and they sort of absorb more of these metals. And since this is a combination of copper and tin, it is not just tin. It has copper and tin. Because of that reason, the food will not be able to stay in a consumable form for a longer period of time. That's the reason that we don't cook, tamarind-based stuff in bronze cookware. On the other hand, tamarind is used. Lemon can be used. Tomato can be used for cleaning these bronze or brass vessels because of the acidic nature, the outer layer of any bronze or brass vessel for that matter, because of oxidization, it turns blackish in color, just the way that copper vessels will become blackish. So when you use it to clean it, it becomes comes to its natural state, like a normal state. The golden gleam will be achieved again. That's the reason that we use them for cleaning. And that's exactly the same reason why we don't use them for cooking also.
Yeah, so much to it. Kalai, as you said before, in current day, we want to know the scientific values, right? So these are not just traditions being done blindly. So these are scientific traditions with niche practices. Why is it a metal with such a low melting point? I'm talking about EM, by the way. It's a highly malleable metal. It is used for cooking. Isn't there a risk? And there is always a talk, EM is carcinogenic, it causes cancer. Does it cause cancer? Also, yeah, you can answer those questions first.
Okay, so it's Kayal, not Kalai, just to
Yeah.
clear that off. All right, so that's okay. So tin, we call it EM, right, in Tamil. So there are two types of EMs in Tamil. One is called the Velli EM, which is the tin, and the other one is called the Karuppi EM, which is lead. So lead is the culprit here. It is carcinogenic, like we all know, and tin is not. So basically, that is the difference. EM, Vellium, and Karuppium. Okay, so now that is addressed. The next one is tin is very malleable metal. The reason that we use is because tin is supposed to be very good for our tissue and muscle health. And that's the reason that our forefathers used them for cooking. But it is not available in any food that we eat. The only way that it can be made available to the body is by using it as a cookware. So how do you use this very malleable, soft metal to cook something At the same time, it needs to go inside the body. The only way of doing that is to cook things which do not require a lot of heating. So what are those recipes? If you think about it, it's rasam or more korambu. These, you set curds in a tin vessel. You use your tin vessel to store idli dosa batter. So these were all like ingenious ways of trying to, add this very essential metal to your, consumption. How else do you add it? So tin, when you make rasam in it, the flavor is definitely different. You will be able to taste the flavor, the aroma, everything is different when you make rasam in your tin vessel. So that was a secret which your grandmom probably never, spoke about. It is because, when you think about it, in traditional South Indian weddings, when we have rasam, when we make rasam for like so many people, it's made in a huge vessel. So making a tin vessel that big was not feasible, and you cannot put a malleable metal on top of a burning flame, right? So what they used to do is they used other metals which used to take the heat, but a tin vessel would be put inside the rasam, to immerse inside the rasam to add flavor. Think about the ingenious ways of actually adding tin to your food. So it's amazing. It's amazing as you understand about these things, because they did so many things which had a lot of sense to it. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of them, but there are a lot of these artisans who are still out there, who still want to make sure it reaches everybody, it reaches people, and it doesn't die. So it's very important that we are able to support such artisans.
Yeah, that's very interesting thing to know. We didn't know that in marriage they use to put a tin vessel. So with turmeric powder, they also put a tin vessel inside to taste it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes. Talking about EM again, there is a general complaint. Even my mom says that the EM at times when they burn it, so it melts. These are accidents that is unavoidable.
Yes.
So essential traditions, does it provide a kind of a replacement or a fix for EM?
We still haven't really started doing it, but we can definitely, in the future, we can definitely start doing it. If an accident happens, it happens. As long as, we are able to go past it and still try out our traditions, then we are ready to support it.
Yeah. One last question on EM before we move on to next question from Lakshmi. So as soon as we prepare rasam in EM, should we transfer it to another vessel, or we can use use the same vessel to reheat the rasam?
You can use the same vessel. It's not a problem. You can even put it inside the fridge and use it for a couple of days. But a sudden change in temperature, like for example, you put it in the fridge and then you take it out immediately and heat it, that might not be a great idea. So it will be better if you could just leave it to get back to room temperature and then put it on the stove.
Thank you, Kayal. The next question is on the iron and indolium. So I have really great memories using eating vada made out of the iron chutney or kadai or ilupa chutney, or the brilliant aroma of seasoning made out of ilupa karandi or the iron ladle, which will land me right into the kitchen wherever I am in the house, whenever the seasoning happens and I'm there in the kitchen and annoy my mother. And this unbeatable dosa out of an iron tawa. All these are very memories to treasure. But my question is, how do you cure iron vessel? My mother's iron dosa color is so soft and smooth, and it's as good as or even better than a Teflon coated tawa. So can you speak something about iron?
Definitely. So let's say, see, seasoning is not a big deal. It's not a big art form. It's nothing. It's basically using your vessel more regularly and applying oil. That's about it. So basically, your a thin layer of oil needs to be there on top of your, let's say, kadai or your tava. As long as there is oil, it works best. It just works perfectly. Now, the question is, when you buy a new iron tawa, for example, or a new iron kadai, there is a good chance that there is a metallic flavor to it, whatever you cook on it. Excuse me. The best way to get rid of this metallic flavor is by boiling a little bit of water, let's say halfway through, and then adding maybe a teaspoon of urad dal and a teaspoon of rice to it. That's it. Boil it and then discard the water, and it is perfect to use. No more metallic flavor on it. So, little tips which we share with our customers who drop by or who purchase online. We always send them an instruction manual in order to make it easy for them to use it and maintain it. Likewise, your iron dosa tawa also, if you apply more oil on it, if you can use it continuously for the first 1 month, then you don't have to oil it anymore. It becomes so good that let's say you use like 2 teaspoons of oil for one dosa, you will probably be using half a teaspoon for one dosa after that. So it only gets better with age. So that is another great thing about iron cookware, traditional cookware, if you ask me.
True. We'll go to the next one. This is my personal favorite too, about this culture tea or soapstone, they call it. We have seen your explanations in your channel, but for the benefit of our viewers, can you quickly say what can be cooked in soapstone? Because whatever I have heard about culture tea, right, they use it only for storage, especially the paraya sadam, they call it. Soak the rice, yesterday's rice in water and keep it
Rice,
aside.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So can it be used for cooking?
Soapstones are multi-purpose. All right. So you have one soapstone cook pot, let's say. You can use it to make sambar. You can use it to make your nice, amazing vattakorbu. You can use it to make sakkara pongal or sambar sadam. Oh my God, it's out of the world. And you can use it to make a nice pasta. So anything which is tamarind tomato based, it is amazing. It turns out amazing only because, see, a soapstone is made of stone, right? So basically, once you heat it, the heat is in the stone for a very long time. So it is almost like an open oven. So imagine your food being cooked inside it you put it in a sim, okay? It's all in a low flame. But then the heat which is concentrated on the inside, it cooks your food faster. It cooks your food with so much flavor. When you make, see, today children are crazy about pastas and pasta sauce. You make the same pasta sauce using a soapstone cook pot. The flavors are much more enhanced and richer. You should try it. You'll understand what I'm talking about.
No, I'm already feeling hungry. I couldn't take my thought about this vetta korumbu in a soapstone.
Oh my God. Yeah. See, especially you cook the vattakorumbu and then you leave it inside it for a few hours and then you taste it.
Oh my God.
So it becomes nice and rich and aromatic and it's amazing.
Oh, lovely. So here, this soapstone, what is it made of? So how do these artisans choose this stone? Can you give?
So soapstone is basically a soft rock. So this soft rock can be found in a lot of places around the world. In India, it is found along the eastern Ghats. All right. So there are different grades and different qualities of soapstones that's available. So our soapstone is from the Namakkal district, where you get the best cookware grade soapstone. So our artisans, these people are based in villages along these eastern Ghats. And when they, bring these soapstones out of the big rock formations, they are so in tune with their knowledge that they will be exactly able to say which part of this rock can be made into a cookware and which cannot. Which means which can withstand the heat and which cannot. So the parts which cannot withstand the heat, they make it into these lovely lamps. It's called Madavalakku. They make it into lamps and they make it into curd jars and they make it into things which don't have to withstand heat. The rest of the rock will go into making kadais and they make an amazing soapstone dosa kallu This dosa kallu is specifically used to make dosa called kal dosa. You would have heard about it. Kal dosas were called kal dosas because they were made on a kallu. A kallu means stone. So it, like that. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So to our viewers who are wondering about now how to make this kal dosai or how to make a tasty vetta korambu in a kal in a soapstone, please visit Essential Traditions. They have the shops in Chennai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. Please visit their site and call them and get these traditional cookware so that you can taste the yummy vetta korambu and your grandma's manga tukku or whatever. Okay. Okay. Lakshmiji, you can proceed with your next question. Lakshmiji, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. My next question is along the lines of the stone. So we have been using my mom has been used kallural and the grinder and the ammi. What is the difference between those, and how is it different from what stone is it made of? Is it same as the soapstone? And also, for kallural, we have a mechanical equivalent. We have a grinder, wet grinder, what we call as, but I don't think we have something similar for ammi. It's we have a mixer, but it's cutting. It's not exactly the same as ammi. So if you can share your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So basically, the ural and ammi, or these the different forms of ural. If we call it ural, but there are different forms of them. The one we use to grind our batter, that is one form. The other one is where you use a olakai to, in order to mash up our millets and everything. There's also another one which is used to grind and powder these, it could be wheat or moong dal and all that. So all of these stone utensils, they were made using granite stone, unpolished granite stone, because they were very, very hardy. They wouldn't break off like soapstone. Soapstones are very soft, and they are very powdery. And if you use it in, very hard, pieces of stones could get into the food. So because of that, unpolished granite stones were used for making, these batters and things like that. You're right. We have a wet grinder in place of that, the ural that we used to have. But we don't have anything for the equivalent of the ammi color, but it would be great. But again, the ammi color in its original form, the flavor that you get out of that is definitely something else. So, when you, let's say, imagine going to a village and getting a nice rustic food laid out on your banana leaf. Everything is made using traditional cookware and traditional, machinery and everything. So it would probably be the most, how do I put it? Not time consuming, very easily available, local food products, which is available probably in the backyard itself. And it would have been made in a jiffy. The only reason being, when you use, like for example, you're using an ammi color for making a chutney. It is there is a lot of air which goes into it when you are using an ammi color. Because of that, the flavor is much more and the aroma is much more. Unlike when you use a mixie grinder, it is all compressed, the pressure is more, and then the heat generated, it sort of absorbs this flavor that it actually has. Since nowadays it's a nuclear family and we probably have to cook food for 2 or 3 people at the max, making a chutney on an ammi is not going to be that difficult. I have made it. I know it is not that difficult. And once you do it, you are not going back to your mixing. It is very, very flavorful with a hand-picked number of ingredients only. Your basic coconut chutney could turn out to be so flavorful. You'll be very happy that you actually put so much of effort into it.
Yes. Yeah, though I agree that it might involve some some kind of physical activity required for amicale. But next
Definitely.
time any husband is complaining, I have to go to gym, I can't help you for the chutney, guys, you can use the amicale to do your rowing. You don't have to go to gym, really.
Definitely. Yes, for
Okay,
sure.
if I'm allowed to say that. Okay, now to just lighten the mood, we have quick rapid fire round. So it's like whatever you think of a specific vessel, and what is the first dish that comes to your mind? So em.
Oh, rasam for sure. Takkali rasam, perfect.
Okay, what else can be made in em?
You can make more korma in it.
Yeah, I told you.
More kormas are amazing in it.
Hmm.
You should try it. It comes out really, really tasty.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you won't let go of making it in an iya patram after that.
Yeah. So culture tea.
Patta korma.
Yeah.
Anything that you put inside it for a long period of time.
Yeah. This is a very easy question. Iron tawa.
Oh, paper roast or a
Huh?
ghee roast or whatever you call it.
But no, there is a general perception. So when you make a ghee roast in a non-stick tawa, right, it's more easier than you make it in an iron tawa, and it also consumes less oil or less ghee. So how do we counter that? Is that true?
No, see, I feel that the flavor that you get out of iron tawa is definitely different. I don't know
Hmm.
about the ease part. See, once you start using an iron tawa, you are not going back to any other tawa,
True.
be it cast iron or be it any other much more healthier option also. If at all
Hmm.
we have one, you are not going back to it
Hmm.
because the flavor that you get out of it, the crisp, the way it cooks, everything is different.
Hmm.
So there is no comparison at all.
Great. So before we move on to another rapid question, I'm going to pick an audience question from here. Um, you have been saying that the knowledge of using these traditional utensils has been a hurdle in for current generation to use them, right? So how to get over it? So, in the sense, do you have any quick tips or usage document along with the purchase?
Yeah. We see the thing is, all we want our customers to do is have the interest. Take the first step to just call our customer care or just drop in a message to us asking any basic question that they want to know about. Why do they feel that it is much more difficult to use a soapstone cook pot? They can just shoot us a question. We are there to just make sure that they understand the method to be used, maintenance instructions, everything is with us. But we can respond to something when it's being asked. So all we require is that one step from people, and that's about it. It's waiting.
Yeah, indeed. I think our viewers will take note of that. The next, I think we would like to move on to the next rapid fire round. So here, tell us which vessel come to your mind when I mention this food or spices. Salt,
Coconut shell,
curd,
soapstone,
tamarind.
clay.
Oh, interesting. Ghee,
Ghee is bronze.
mm, pickle.
Bronze or brass with the tin coating. Both are okay.
Okay. Pickles,
Jardi.
mhm. Milk.
Milk is bronze.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have more audience questions coming up. I'll pick up the next question. This is on EM actually. So many Western countries have an electric glass stove top, so no flame. So how to use a chambu, and when we are especially craving for a rasam made out of chambu?
Here, chongo on a flat plate or on without a flame is not advisable, only because of the fact that the concentration of the heat will be to specific areas of the ear chamber, and it's probably not a great idea because there is a very good chance it will melt. But on the other hand, you can use clay vessels. Clay vessels work really well on your coil. So you should give it a try. So that will work. Or the next time you come down south and you can just buy something made of tin. You can always drop it inside your rasam. Make it in anything. Drop it inside your rasam.
Yeah, that's an interesting tip. So I would like to take our audience question next. How to decide if an iron utensil or a copper utensil has reached end of life?
um, Iron, copper, I don't think I have ever seen something, maybe because it looks very disfigured, and iron doesn't disfigure by itself. Maybe if you've used it so much that it has a crack in it, or otherwise there is no life for your iron. If you ask me, the iron vessel which has been used the longest is probably a piece of treasure which you shouldn't give off to anybody. Make sure you keep it with you, because a well-seasoned iron vessel is incomparable. Once you start using it, you'll understand. The same goes to copper also. So, if a well-maintained copper vessel is equal to nothing. So you have to make sure that it is a piece of treasure and maintain it and use it as much as you can. Because a lot of our customers, we see that, because of old age and because of the fact that nobody in the family wants to use these vessels. They want to give it to us. They ask us if we can buy it back. But these vessels are going to be very useful in the future. So I don't think they should give it away. We do buy back, but then we always advise them that this is a really, really useful thing and they shouldn't be giving it away. And they should probably give it to somebody who will understand the worth of it.
Yeah. So imagine the price of vengalam or brass now and during those
Exactly.
days.
And also, see, antiques, the older quality is very different from what we have today.
Yes. So
Definitely.
yeah, talking about that, so we have some question on the maintenance and quality. So the products that you get from these artisans, how do you quality check them, and who does that, and how do you select these products, and what kind of quality check you do?
So basically, see, when we speak to artisans, we try and understand that they have been doing whatever they say that they've been doing for generations. A minimum of 2 to 3 generations, they should have followed a path which has led them there. It cannot be somebody who just started off and they want to build a business based on that. Only because of the fact that knowledge which has been passed down through generations is a lot more. We don't have the necessary documentation at all with respect to these things. The same thing with weaving, just like traditional cookware, with weaving also, passed down knowledge is much more than what we can document today. So we choose products based on weight, thickness, how long the artisan has been making it, what are all the attributes that he gives his products. These are all very, very important for choosing who we work with.
Yeah, good. So and do you, tips on maintenance, right? The soapstone you say. So does it require a pre-quicking or kind of a prerequisite before you start using them, or you already do that in your shop?
So see, the thing about iron, cast iron, soapstones is that there is a process called seasoning, which you'll have to do before you start using it. In order for our customers to start using them immediately, we season them. So we sell seasoned iron, cast iron, and soapstone products. The rest of the products, for example, clay or brass, bronze, and copper, and all of them are just new. They are made by the artisan, and then we stock them up. So the seasoning process is clearly explained on our website under the FAQs. And if customers have questions about it, they can reach us on Instagram and they can reach us on our helpline number also. Apart from that, maintenance instructions are given to customers who purchase. So even if you have a question, you can always go ahead and drop it in and through email or over a phone call, and we'd be very glad to help you out. For some people who have these traditional cookware and they don't know how to start using them, we are there to help out. So please do give us a call.
Thank you, Kayal, for those tips. My next question is on how does this traditional cookware compete with the modern cookwares? Like, can it be used on induction stove, or can it be used on oven, for example? Or Can we, like ceramics or glasswares, we just throw it on the dishwasher? It makes life easier for us. So how does it compete with this?
Okay, so when I get this question, the first thing I tell my customers is that for every relationship, tender loving care is very important, right? I mean, any relationship. So does maintaining these traditional cookware. I feel that for me, traditions is something that is, my history and my tradition is what identifies me. It's my identity, and I take a lot of pride in it. So these traditional cookware at home, it identifies who you are. It tells who you are. There is a history behind it. How does it compete with modern cookware? It's what we make out of it. If I say, for me, I use my iron tava better than, I feel it is better than any other alternative. That's how I feel about it. So it is a personal choice. If we want to choose tradition, fine, then that's what, that's the way we do it. And we are there to make it easy for you. So that's the most that I can do, and I cannot thrust this on somebody, but I can always give them an easier way to do it. Induction friendly, you had asked me. The iron and any metal is induction friendly. It can be used on the induction stoves. Clay is oven friendly. You can use it in your oven and microwave. Soapstone on the same hand are also oven friendly, but it depends what type of cookware you're using and how high the heat is going to be. So there are little maintenance information tips that we do give our customers based on their ways of using of these traditional cookware. So it is important that we share this kind of knowledge with them because it makes things easier for them.
Talking about the iron tawa, I have a question from the audience. Wondering why dosa sticks to iron color if I make chapati before. What is the reason behind it?
Okay, so basically atta, it has a tendency to absorb anything, be it moisture or oil. So when you make a chapati on a seasoned tawa, it sort of invisible to the naked eye, it absorbs the oil coating on top. So it becomes dry. So because of that, when you make dosa on it the next time, it sticks to it. So there are ways of avoiding it. One tawa is more than enough. It's multi-utility. You can use it for anything and everything that you want. All you have to do is take a piece of onion or potato, put a teaspoon of oil before you make the dosa. Let's say you use it for chapati the previous night. Pour 2 teaspoons of oil. You sort of rub it in using a piece of onion or a potato and leave it in it in low heat for like 2 to 3 minutes. Let it absorb that oil a bit before you make your first dosa. This will definitely help and the dosas won't stick on it anymore.
That's an interesting tip. So I have a next question on carrying these very malleable utensils abroad. So do you have any tips how to carry them in our check-in luggage?
I've had customers carrying big clay urlis in their luggage without any issues. So what they do is you just have to pack it up in a way that sits in the middle of clothes. They use a lot of these thick towels, to wrap them up. What we do is we do bubble wraps on top, and we do something called as air pack also. So on top of this, you just have to use some nice soft clothing, and it will survive. Travel shouldn't be a big deal.
Okay, good. And on innovation perspective, so these are traditional items, right? Is there possibility to create any innovative product like using clay lunchbox container, just an imagination, and using copper as a storage container for a water filter?
There have been a lot of challenges for us in terms of working with artisans who have this traditional knowledge. So basically, let's say we want them to make something different, even if we give them a model of it, it's tough for them to change their mentality.
Yeah.
So basically, we have to convince them into making them understand that this is going to be useful and it shouldn't be a big deal. There are some artisans who welcome such innovation and such changes. On the other hand, there are people it's difficult to convince them. So we are in the process of trying to bring in a little bit of this innovation also into our cookware. But it is a tough battle, I should say.
Yeah, but you guys are doing a great job. So, this is how Make in India helps by letting people collaborate, bring back our scientific traditions. Yeah. Lakshmi
Yes.
ji, you can go with your next question.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Subbu. The next question I have is the other types of traditional items, not necessarily cookwares or storage wares, vessels like that, but we have, but also like we have used silver in our silver plates or silver kingdoms for
As
babies.
somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and also like other items like vetiver mats or uh, things like that, bamboo items like that. Do you use them, sell them in your stores? Can you share something about that?
Yes. So, anytime, there is a wedding in the family, or anytime there is a new baby that is born, the first thing that comes to mind for people to give as gifts is probably something made of silver, because gold is not that affordable. So we go in for silver. So there is a big reason as to why silver was preferred. Silver has this natural antibacterial tendency, because of which we use it in to drink water, or as plates to consume food on. Scientifically also there is a reason why these were used. Now we do not have silver in our we don't sell silver, but we do sell vetiver mats and yoga mats made of natural fibers and all that. So the reason that we the way that we use vetiver or any other natural fibers is because it has a lot of it gives us natural cooling.
Yeah.
So in a country like India, where the summers are very very harsh, we have to resort to ways where we can naturally cool our bodies, and these were being used in ancient times. These vetiver mats, for example, we make screens with vetiver, which when there is you hang it on a window and you leave your windows open. When the breeze comes inside, it gives you this amazing aroma, and the breeze is also cool. So just the way how a clay water pot is helpful in cooling your body, the vetiver mat is again doing the same thing, but it's doing it to the the breeze. And there is a whole holistic thing that goes on when you start using all these the traditional natural things, and you'll be able to understand the whole way it works. There is a lot of positive energy and positive vibration, and these things cannot be explained, and it only has to be experienced.
Yeah, indeed. Uh, so we are almost close to the hour. Would you have some more time to take a couple of more questions, Kaya?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I love it.
Okay. So the next question I have is, and it's also one of the audience question. So uh, as we have also talked about, people are out of touch of these traditional cookware and how to use it. So there is a challenge to educate the modern people on how to use them. So do you have something that you do on your stores to educate them? I have seen you with Chef Damu, I think doing a few demonstrating how to use this. Can you
May-
share your thoughts on
Maybe a crispy
Yeah, sure.
dosa on a iron tawa.
So from the time that we opened the stores, and the number of people that we have spoken to, I feel that it might be modern in a lot of ways. The ways we think, the way we dress up, and everything. But there is a very, very Indian soul to us, no matter what, no matter
Yeah.
which part of the world we live in. So that is something that is always inside us, within us. Maybe we still haven't identified in a lot of us, but it triggers at some point. It triggers, and that's all it takes. So for people who come to us and want to know more about these things, that's exactly what we tell them. So maintenance is what, the mostly asked question is about maintenance. How am I supposed to carry it, abroad, or how am I supposed to maintain it when it rusts? For example, iron cookware can rust. It's a natural process, and what do we do with it? And very, very basic, normal questions is what people are wanting to know. So the first thing is that Indian soul. The next thing is people are worried and they want to understand how they have to understand their health, understanding their way of life, and understanding how to be healthy and sustainable at the same time is very, very important. And I feel that this the traditional cookware and organic food is all a blend of these things. It just goes hand in hand. So this is the way we look out to the future by using this extensive knowledge we have from the past. So
Indeed.
yeah.
Yeah. So the one of my last questions I have is, what about your future plans? Are you planning to diversify into other traditional things like weaving, for example? Um, can you share something about your future plans?
So yes, so essential traditions is about having, this bringing back traditional cookware and traditional lifestyle products. So it is not just the cookware; it's also about lifestyle products. For example, home decor. The pattu pie that we have at homes. It's made with these very, very amazingly soft weed grass that grows in the banks of rivers, and it's an art form by itself. Or there are so many different types of weaves that's available only in Tamil Nadu. We don't even have to step outside. That's the whole point. Each state, each type of people have their own type of weave, and it's amazing how we were able to gain such access to this rich, amazing weaves that we have. We have lost quite a bit, but it is the right time for us to bring it back. So we do have a separate team that works on bringing back these weaves. As of now, we are concentrating on a weave called Tirubhuvanam. So these Tirubhuvanam silks are made in the village of Tirubhuvanam near Kumbakonam, and this whole village, they know nothing but weaving. And weaving, their art form is something that needs to be told and something that people need to understand. I know in every South Indian household, every wife or every mother in a family will have at least one Kanchipuram. I think it's time to bring back Tirubhuvanam also. It's this really soft silk, which is weaved to perfection, and you will understand it when you see it. It's very fine silk, unlike Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram is slightly stiff on one hand, but Tirubhunams are very soft. So yeah, that is one thing that we have started working on, and we'll soon have a separate website and everything to make it possible.
Indeed. I think I'm in my next visit, I'm going to look out for Tirubhuvanam silk.
Yes, you should.
Definitely. So with this, we come to a end of our show. I will just finish with a small vote of thanks. Somewhere along the line, or along the line of our busy lives, have pushed us to take our traditions for granted. This has led us down a dangerous road of convenient, cheap, and chemical coated cookware that may save time but deplete your health and nature in the long run. Let's get back to our roots where science met sustenance. Let's get back to the cooking methods that were honed by generations upon generations of people living in the same land, under the same climate, geographical, and political conditions. The need to preserve these traditions, the mouths they feed, the harmony they strike, and the art they grow is what lays the foundations of essential traditions. Through essential traditions, Kayal has made an important attempt to put forth sustainable and environmentally conscious ways to cook our food. Each piece in essential traditions is produced manually with naturally existing raw materials that not only benefit our health but also makes room for you to preserve memories of your loved ones On behalf of Sambash, I convey our heartfelt gratitude to Kayal and Essential Traditions for not only reviving the traditional methods of cooking, but also supporting the artisans behind these cookwares. Thank you, Kayal, for participating in this show today with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share what we are doing here. It's just very, very supportive when, to understand that people out there are, they want to understand about these traditional cookwares or everything that is traditional about the country. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Now I invite Subbu to close the show with a Shanti Mantra.
Yep. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyodirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Kayal.
Thank you.